Okay, so when she's choosing herself, loving herself, accepting herself, and not fearful anymore of their connection, then he begins to do the exact same thing for himself. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In case you're new here, my name is Kim. This is Core Union. Happy Saturday. Today is a day of rest for me other than this video. I know that my mom is laughing right now if she's watching this. I am going to rest. I need it. I think I slept maybe 5 hours last night because something pretty big happened yesterday in a very good way. You guys will clearly see when what it is that I'm manifesting happens. I wanted to actually talk about the condition of suffering that we experience when we're in resistance because of our limiting beliefs and not when we don't allow ourselves to recognize that what we desire when when it is so deep down within you, it is already done, it's complete, it's finished, it's there. It will be there no matter how many times you give up, no matter how many times you fall, no matter how many times you think it's over. For example, with you and your specific person, if you feel it deep down in your heart and soul, it is done. And for those of you guys that it's not a deep soul connection, if you just want to lightly date somebody, that's done too. It's the fears that you have surrounding it that have a grip on you that you have to let go of. Anything that's causing the resistance. And by the way, if you keep resisting the resistance, it just makes it greater. So we want to actually embrace the resistance in a lot of ways. Sometimes embrace the circumstances doesn't mean that you're accepting it and saying, yes, I want more of that. It just means that you are, no matter what, like I'm in this, I'm willing to go through anything. If you experienced the illusion of separation, but you know this is my baby, this is the one. I know that this is the love of my life, my wife, my husband, my partner, my spouse. Then stay in it and plant yourself in it and have faith and trust and a willingness to see through all of your limiting beliefs and your challenges. Because when you do that and you embrace it, then it reduces, if not dissolves, the resistance. Okay. I want to read a comment that I Will Not Comply wrote on yesterday's video where I talked about the unfolding of one of my clients with her mirror soul. And so I'm going to read I Will Not Comply's comment and how I responded to her, where she asked, why is this human experience basically so painful? So I'm going to read that. And then I might also mention some movement that another one of my clients just told me about this past week. Another 3 clients are, if they're in either the unfolding or their person has basically professed their love to them. I might talk about one of them. The other one, she's not ready for me to talk about it, but her story is beautiful. And when she is ready, then I will have a lovely success story to read to you guys. So before I get into this, if you love me, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps my channel grow, and I appreciate you for that. If you want me to be your coach to help you manifest anything related to your specific person, email a short description to kim@coreunion.com. Go to the website, coreunion.com, book whatever you want to book. My scheduling assistant, Olga, will get back to you with my next available session. So I Will Not Comply. Her comment was, why then were we given this human experience by higher intelligence if it is so vulnerable to suffering, negative programming, and in order to be happy and be able to give love, we need to deny all the deeply human traits like perceiving time, which comes from fear of death and vanishing, guilt, fear, and longing. So my reply to her, and I intend that this helps a lot of you understand kind of the process. And, it is what it is. I'm just going to read this It's not about denying your human traits. It's about transforming how you identify with them. The law of assumption isn't a rejection of being human. It's the realization that we're not only human, but also we're the operant power within the human experience, not victims of the human experience. Remember that you are the light, the creator, God in human form, creating on behalf of God. And we get our gifts, our talents, our desires from God. So when you deny yourself, you're denying God. When you deny your desires to be loved, to be in a relationship, to have success, to whatever your endeavors are, you're essentially not in agreement with your creator, with God. And that is part of what causes the suffering. It's not that you're ever actually apart from God because you are that in human form. But the feeling of pain and suffering is intentional. So then you can ask, how can I be more like the creator? Which, yes, you already are, but in the lower levels of consciousness, it doesn't feel that way. But that's the purpose of the pain. It's to teach you how to love yourself and how to forgive yourself and others. And it's teaching you how to be pure, unconditional power, which is unconditional love. That is what God, the creator, is. And then so much more because it's inconceivable to our human egos what God actually is. Okay, so we weren't given this experience to suffer constantly, but pain is the powerful motivator to force us to ask ourselves, how can I be more like the creator? We are given it to remember who we actually are through contrast, to awaken to the truth that our assumptions do create our reality and that we do have choices. We can either listen to love or fear, we can trust or doubt. And then once we make that decision, we do whatever techniques resonates with us to put us in the state of fulfillment. We embody that throughout the day. And when we do this consistently, then as we're living our life and we're enjoying our life, everything that needs to happen is happening. It's always happening through you, not to you. But whatever you're guided to do and inspired to do, is then you're either being controlled by yourself as the creator, you're controlling your own character because you're the character, or you're being controlled by your ego and fear. So, whatever you're guided to do and inspired to do is the inspiration guiding you to do things is either from trust or doubt, love or fear. Okay, that's why it's so important to consistently get back into your center, your home, your power in love, unconditional love. Okay. Anyway, so we are given it to remember who we are through the contrast, to awaken to the truth that our assumptions do create our reality and we have choices. Time, guilt, fear, and longing. These are only painful when we believe that they are more powerful than our imagination and our power to change, and when we don't realize that our end already exists. But they're actually amazing opportunities to return to love, to awareness, and to the God within each and every one of us, who we truly are. You're not being asked to suppress or bypass fear. Bypassing actually doesn't work in the long term. And a lot of you guys are becoming aware of that because when you try to stuff down or reject the fear or the pain, what happens? Then you end up, it's like you end up on this loop of things. Instead, you want to transform the pain. Okay. So you're being asked to face it and move through it, to feel your humanity fully, but identify as the one who commands your inner world, not the one who is controlled by it. What I'm about to say is not the law of assumption at all. So everybody please don't say things in the comments below like, that's not law of assumption. I'm well aware of that, but I'm using Kabbalistic understanding, not going deep into that, but just to talk about this feeling of being challenged and tested, okay? Because obviously that's what resistance is. So this is not law of assumption, and I'm aware of it. So in Kabbalah, when we have parts of us still fearful of accepting our desire, which is already created for us, evil will test our faith. And, you guys might think of that as like the evil one, Satan, things like that. It's like our fearful part is literally sensed. So that evil spirit says, I think we can break them because they aren't actually faithful. And the war then ensues within us. And this is like what we've talked about before. The moment that you do want to level up and expand, your ego, it's like all the fears, all these demons kind of come down and descend on you to try to stop you from having the love that you want, the health that you want, the success that you want. But none of that is true. But it's not actually a test from anything outside of you. But let me go on with this. So it's saying, I think we can break them. And the war ensues within us. Our fears come at us to stop us, tempting us to give up, to keep us safe. When we don't give in to it, and instead we face them head on, and we're like, you cannot tell me anything otherwise. That when you can say, we don't give in to this and instead we face it head on. And I will never give up. I know what I deserve and I know what is mine. I know what's deep down in my heart and soul. Eventually, that evil spirit will give up and actually changes into a cooperative component. No weapon formed against me will ever prosper. Okay. So that is the transformational opportunity. It's in the pain. When you refuse, you give yourself love through it, you cry, you get it out of your system, and then you surrender and you hand that over to the God within you. Thank you. I trust you. I love you. I trust you with all of my heart and soul. And I know that you're handling this. I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. I'm doing what I can, and I trust that you will do what I can't because God is handling everything, all the hows and the whens. And no, I'm not saying that God is outside of you. Okay. All right. So then let's see what else I wrote. So that is the transformation. This happens when everyone and this happens to everyone and in every situation when we're growing to varying degrees. In other words, you might want something that's not that big of a deal to you, and you might experience an hour or two of fear or nervousness or edginess or resistance. And then you process through it pretty quickly. Okay. It's just your own, it's whatever according to you is such a big deal because to God, it's nothing is nothing. Like to God, it's like it's already, again, it's already done. So there's nothing to us when we make mountains out of a molehill. To God, universe, source, infinite intelligence, it's like a speck of dust. And when you hand it over and you know it's being handled, it is being handled. Okay. So anyway, hopefully this helps. I always invite everyone to study more. So I included the links for Neville Goddard beneath this because I think it's important to study on a regular basis because your circumstances with your specific person do not matter. The breakup itself is a bridge of events. The unfolding is happening when you don't see it, when you least expect it. You don't see when somebody is thinking thoughts. You don't see when somebody's feeling something in their heart, in the core of them, when they are watching things that remind them of you, when they're hearing songs and they can't help but to think of you, when they see your car drive by, when they're seeing numbers and dates and hearing your name, when they're suddenly remembering and reminiscing of the times you spent together if you guys physically met. And no, of course, like I always say, you don't have to necessarily have had a relationship with your person, so you don't have to ask me that. But I'm using examples that you don't see the most profound movement, but you have to trust that when things are shifting and moving within you, they're shifting the exact precise moment with your person. Okay. So let the circumstances go because the circumstances were literally just the three-dimensional solidified experience. It's just a manifestation of whatever your limiting beliefs were. In editing, I realized that I forgot to tell you some of the unfolding of one of my clients. She is going to email me the entire story, but we met in the past few days, and this is what she told me basically. Her and her mirror soul have had a deep loving connection for many, many years. There is a circumstance that I'm not going to discuss because it is her private information. If she chooses to tell me in the email, then I will share it with you guys. But where I want to bring this up is as of last Valentine's Day, he completely blocked her. And then as of April, he reached out to her and he said, I want to talk. And he asked if they could see each other in person. When they met, she said that he gave her the longest, strongest hug, that he asked her if they could go and talk in private, and where he was staying had a nice fire pit, and asked if she wanted to hang out by that. She said, yes, of course. They sat down and they started talking. He got quiet. He stared at her and he literally started crying. Previously, he had told her when they broke up, and it was more than once, they had many separations, but he had told her that he believes that he's made the right decision and that they were not going to be together. So now he looks at her, they're at the fire pit. He looks at her, he starts crying, and he basically says, I was supposed to tell you that I am sticking with my decision, but looking at you, I realize that it's impossible. And she said that suddenly he wasn't scared anymore. His fear, it's almost like his fear just dissolved and vanished. And they continued to talk and talk about how much they deeply love each other. And now he's telling her that where he didn't see a way before, he now believes that he can see a way for them to be together. And he's already planning a trip for them to take. I think, I'm not sure exactly when it is. One of the reasons why he's not afraid anymore, because after her and I met for the first time and I went over her limiting beliefs and her fears, and I gave her the inner work to do based on what she shared with me. And she has been incredibly consistent and deliberate in staying focused with it. And so she's been shifting and changing and transforming herself and how she sees herself, loving herself deeply and unconditionally, exactly how she is right now, accepting herself and seeing the best in her person, choosing him as well, not seeing him from the old 3D circumstances, dropping it, letting go, going into forgiveness when it comes up, and all of that wonderful stuff. Okay. So when she's choosing herself, loving herself, accepting herself, and not fearful anymore of their connection, then he begins to do the exact same thing for himself. So you conform, you shift and change, and then your specific person, your true love, will be doing the same thing. And again, remember, like for each and every one of my clients, there's always a point of not seeing any evidence. So you don't have to say things in the comments like, well, for them, it was so easy. Who is saying that? Everybody goes through their own dark. Everybody expands through it when they choose to. So I'm going to read something that I want you guys to affirm down below, and you can remember this and say this declaration anytime where you're in a lot of fear and you're in a lot of angst and frustration because you're not seeing evidence in the 3D, and maybe you're losing a little bit of faith and trust with your specific person. I want you to just surrender, give yourself love in those moments. Tell yourself that you're loved. Let yourself cry, embrace your humanity, and then surrender and declare, I surrender this situation with complete unconditional love, trusting that you're handling everything for me and that everything that I want is already done, and that you will reveal to me the highest and most loving way anything that needs to happen. Okay. Please affirm that down below. Obviously, reach out to me if you need me. I love you guys so much, and I intend that this was of value and service to you. I love you so much. Have an amazing day. Goodbye. Nothing can come, nothing can come, nothing can come between us.